Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Zeke, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a gyroscopic snowflake ornament using Tinkercad's code blocks. I'd like to say that this video is a thank you for everyone who helped me reach 100 subscribers. It really meant a lot to me reaching that point, and I just wanted to make something a little bit more challenging as a thank you to everyone. This video is going to be a bit longer than my normal videos as it has a lot of quite complicated code, so I'm going to be trying to move a little bit faster than I normally do. With that being said, by the end of the video, I hope you're able to take what you learned from my design and make something even better than what I have here. Either way, once we finish previewing what we're going to make, we can load in and get started. Okay, let's go. The first thing that we are going to do is we are going to go back to Tinkercad, and we are going to go to our designs, and we are going to create a new code blocks design. Once that's loaded in and we've changed the name of our design to something easy to find, we can get making. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to go to the shapes and we're going to scroll down until we find a polygon, which we will drag in. I'll zoom in a little bit so that you can see better, hopefully. And next, we'll go to the purple Modify tab, and we'll drag in a Scale X, Y, and Z command. We are going to set the X scaling to be 0.7. The Y scaling will be 0.7 as well, and the Z scaling will be 0.25. After that, we'll go back to the Shapes tab, and we'll drag in 2 boxes. We'll click on these arrows in order to open up the options, and we're going to adjust the size of our boxes. The width is going to be 32, the length will be 1.6, and the height is going to be 5. For the second box, the width will be 5, the length will be 1.6, and the height will also be 5. Next, we need a move command. We're going to move our second box to an X of 13.5 and to a Y of -2. After that, we need a rotate command. This rotate command is going to rotate around the Z axis, and it is going to rotate by -45 degrees, so just drag this arrow back around over here. Now, we'll need 3 more of these boxes, moves, and rotates, so instead of dragging them each in individually, I'm going to right-click on the box and select Duplicate. I'll take that code and add it to the bottom, and then I can make some changes. For the X value, I'm going to keep it the same, but for the Y value, it will change from -2 to +2. Additionally, it's going to rotate around the Z axis by 45 degrees. Once again, I'll duplicate and add it to the bottom. And again, I'll adjust the move commands. The X is going to move to 9.5. The Y is going to stay the same at 2. And the rotate will stay the same. Once more, duplicate and add to the bottom. And for our final box, the X will remain 9.5, but the Y we will change to -2. We'll also change the rotate command to rotate around the Z axis by -45 degrees. Now we'll go back to our shapes, and we'll drag in another polygon. After that, we'll drag in we'll also change this polygon into a hole by clicking this gray circle, and then we will drag in a Scale X, Y, Z command. We'll set the X to be 0.5, the Y to be 0.5, and the Z we can leave alone. Going back to shapes, we'll scroll down and drag in a tube. We'll click on this little arrow to find some additional options, and we're going to change the radius to 20. We'll also change the wall thickness to 4, the height to 5, and we're going to change the sides to 64. Now we can drag in a create group command, and then we'll go to the control tab and we'll drag in a repeat command to the bottom of our code. After this, we'll drag in a copy into the repeat command, and we'll drag in a rotate command as well. We're going to set our repeat command to repeat 5 times, and it's going to rotate around the z-axis by 60 degrees. Now if we press play, we can see that we've created the snowflake decoration that we'll be using. However, we still need some way for it to rotate. That's what we'll be working on next. In order to do so, we'll go back to our Shapes tab, and we'll drag in one of these white paraboloids. I'm going to change it to a hole by clicking on the gray circle, and then I'll go to the Modify tab. I'm going to drag in the Scale command, not the Scale XYZ. I'm going to set the scaling for this object to be 0.25, and then I'm going to drag in 2 move commands. 1, 2. The first move command I'm going to set to rotate on the y-axis by 90 degrees, and the second is going to rotate on the z-axis by negative 45 degrees. I'll next drag in a move command, and I'm going to set the x to be negative 13.5 and the y to be 13.5. I'm going to need one more of these, so I'm going to right-click the original, press duplicate, and drag it down to the bottom. I can keep the shape, the scaling, and the y-axis rotate command, but I'm going to need to change the z-axis rotate to rotate by 135 degrees. I'm also going to change the move command. I'm going to move it to an x of positive 13.5, and I'm going to move it to a y of negative 13.5. Next up, I'll drag in a create group command. If we press play now, we can see what we've done. There's our snowflake, and we can see that we have these 2 holes on either side that we will be able to put a peg inside so that it can rotate. Before we can create the peg, we'll need something to attach them to. I'm going to attach them to a tube, and I am going to change some of its sizes by clicking on this little arrow. For this tube, I need it to be a radius of 25. I need to have a thickness of 4, a height of 5, and I want the sides to be 64. With those changes done, I'll now drag in a white paraboloid again. I'll drag in another scale command, and I'm going to set the scaling to be 0.25. And then I'll drag in a rotate command. I'm going to set this to rotate around the y-axis by 90 degrees. And then I'll drag in another rotate command. This one is going to rotate around the z-axis, and is going to rotate by negative 45 degrees. Next, I need a move command, and I need this to move to an x of negative 14 and a y of 14. I'll need one more of these shapes with similar code, so I'll duplicate and add to the bottom of my list. I can keep the shape and the scale command the same. The rotate on the y-axis is the same, but I need to change the rotate on the z-axis to be 135. I also need to change the move commands. The x will be positive 14 and the y will be negative 14. Now if I press play and fast forward through, we can see that we have a new ring on the outside and there is now a peg inside each of these holes for us to rotate around. Wonderful. Now we just need to add some more. We will right-click on our peg before, duplicate it, and add it to the bottom of the code. I'm going to change this peg into a hole by clicking the gray circle, and now I'm going to make some changes. I want this peg to rotate on the x-axis by 90 degrees. However, I don't need this Z rotate command anymore, so I can just remove it from our code and drag it into the garbage. Then I'll reattach our move command. I'm going to set this move command to move to an X of 0, and I'm going to set it to move to a Y of 24. With that done, I can click duplicate, add another one to the bottom, and this one I am going to change the X rotation. I want it to rotate to an X of negative 90 degrees, and I want the move command to be negative 24. With that done, I can drag in a create group command. Next up, we'll go back to shapes, and we'll drag in another tube. Our previous tube was white, so this one will be blue. We'll click on that little arrow, and we'll make some changes to this tube. We are going to need a radius of 30, a wall thickness of 4, a height of 5, and the sides should be 64. Pressing play to rock it through our code, we can double check that everything looks good. Wonderful. Okay. Next up, we'll drag in another paraboloid, followed by a scale command. We'll set this scale command to be 0.25, and then we'll need a rotate command. We are going to rotate around the x-axis by 90 degrees, so we don't need to change anything. Then we'll drag in a move command, and we are going to move to a y of 25. We'll right-click that paraboloid and duplicate it, and add it to the bottom of our code. We are going to change the rotate command to rotate on the x-axis by negative 90 degrees, and we're going to change the move command to move to a y of negative 25. Then we'll drag in another create group command. Next up, we will go to our two paraboloids over here, and we're actually going to duplicate both of these. I'll right-click, duplicate, and add them to the bottom. Now, we need to make some changes. First of all, both of these will be changed into holes, and then we're going to need to make some changes to our rotate and move commands. First of all, we are going to set this first one to rotate on the y-axis by 90 degrees. We are also going to change it to move to an x of negative 29, and it's going to move to a y of 0, like so. The second one, we'll set it to rotate on the y-axis, but we're going to have it rotate to negative 90, so we actually don't need to make any changes there. However, we are going to change the move command, and we're going to have it move to a y of 29, and the y will also be 0. Pressing play to check our work, we can see the shapes that we've already come to know and make so far, and then we can see that we've added some holes on either side of our shape here. Great. We're nearly done. For our last ring, we're going to go back to our shapes and we'll drag in another tube to the bottom. Our previous ring was blue, so this one will set to be white. We'll click on this little arrow and we'll make some more changes to the size of this shape. The radius of this one is going to be 35. It'll have a wall thickness of 4, a height of 5, and 64 sides. With that done, we'll drag in another of our white paraboloids. And then we'll go to our purple Modify tab and drag in a Scale command. We'll set it to scale at 0.25. And then we will drag in a Rotate command. We're going to set this to rotate on the Y-axis by 90 degrees. And then we will need a Move command. This Move command is going to move to an X of -30. And Y and Z will remain 0. We'll need one more of these, so we'll right-click and duplicate. Add it to the bottom. With that done, we can make some changes. We need it to rotate on the Y-axis, but we actually want this one to rotate -90 degrees. We're also going to change the Move command to move to an X of +30. Y and Z remain 0. With that, we'll check our work. And everything looks good. We have holes on opposite sides and pegs allowing our snowflake to rotate. And everything looks wonderful. The last thing we need to do is add something so that we can put some string on our ornament and hang it from a tree. In order to do that, we'll go back to our Shapes tab. We'll drag in one final tube, change its color, and next we'll change its size. We're going to want a radius of 4, a wall thickness of 2, and a height of 5. We will also need a Move command. And I'm going to move to a Y of 37. If we press play now, we can see our final snowflake. If you watched this far into the video, I would like to thank you for doing so. If you enjoyed this project and enjoyed this ornament we were able to make, I'd like to ask if you could please subscribe to my channel. It really means a lot to me and encourages me to make more projects. Additionally, I would like to say that the ornament that we have not made today is not in fact perfect. There are some changes that we could make to make it even better. The astute of you might have noticed that there are 3 points of our rotation, but there is one that is missing. We have an axis of rotation here, we have an axis of rotation here, and we will have a final axis of rotation this way. However, we are missing an axis of rotation here. My final challenge to you is for you to go into this design and add your own 5th ring to the outside, put in holes, and put in pegs. This should be an interesting challenge for you, but you know all the commands and all the skills that you need to do so. That being said, I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday, and I hope to see you soon. My next videos, I am thinking about making some superhero-themed coasters, so if you have ideas about what you'd like to see, please post them in the video description. Bye for now.